and welcome to Not All Fire. I'm Jude Evans, and I'm joined tonight by Melissa Fazakali, who is a returning guest because Joe is up to his eyeballs in stuff because obviously wildfire season, wildfire research. So Joe's going to take a couple of weeks off while I find some odd hosts to host with, and we're going to do just some slightly different stuff. Now, welcome, Melissa. Thank you for doing this at such short notice.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm an all right substitute for Joe, I guess.
Oh, you're much prettier. So, and your beard is much, much smaller, obviously.
It's not. I did it.
So we are going to be talking about wildfires today because we are deep in the heart of wildfire season. We're also going to talk about some of the environmental impact of wildfires that are happening around the world. But first, as ever, let's do a little bit of introduction. So for those of you who didn't listen to the episode that we did with Melissa a year ago, that, please will you give us a wee bit of an introduction as to who you are and the kind of things that you're doing at the moment?
Yeah, I'll try and keep it brief. So, Melissa Fazakali, I am the founder director of Dimension Health and Safety. We do a lot of stuff around the ice management systems, which will relate to the wildfires soon. Leadership and coaching, executive coaching, training, that kind of stuff. I am a trustee of IIRSM. I am the founder of the Safety Social, which is a great networking group, support group, whatever our members need, basically.
Drinking club. Drinking club.
Yes. There is the social bit. We do end up in the but that's good because we've got a whole host of different people. We've got fire people in there as well, and it's, everybody's welcome. What else? Is there anything else I need to say?
You've just started a podcast.
Yes. So I've just started a podcast, Coaching Dimensions Podcast. Does what it says on the tin. It's all around coaching and leadership in different industries and leaders sharing their own personal stories, different techniques, that kind of stuff to kind of help upskill people. And I've also got a journal. I've got one here in front of me. Can I share it? I've just clocked that I've got one.
We have videos.
So it's the Under Construction Swearing Journal. There is one that's not swearing.
I have one on my desk in my office, which you very kindly sent us after appearing last time. So that's in our office.
I did. But we like to support Andy's Man Club with that. So obviously any kind of profits that we make, we support them, mental health with that. So I'm going to stop waffling on about myself now and we can get into the actual episode.
So what have you been doing this week? So we're recording on a Tuesday, as we often do. So what have your last 2 days looked like?
You're asking something there. I need my diary open. So today I have been to a local business consortium, talking about all things local council, tenders, all that kind of stuff. I have been working on a couple of potential new clients for some ISO stuff.
Ooh, excellent.
I have been recording a podcast episode. What else have I done? Oh my days! I don't know.
I did spring that on you a bit. I've been out and about. I'm down in Essex, as people can see. I've moved round a little bit in my room because they've upgraded some of the Wi-Fi, so I don't have to sit in front of the door to the room anymore, which is quite nice. I can actually sit with a bit more of a view. I've been to school in Muswell Hill. Done a fire risk assessment this morning with my team. I'm teaching Josh. All about well, I say I'm teaching Josh. Josh found out today he's basically passed his level 4 fire risk assessors course, for which we are much appreciative about that. So yes, I've been to school, a primary school, did a fire risk assessment, went and had lunch in a really lovely bistro that I've eaten in before in Muswell Hill. Told them I have a chili allergy, promptly refused to serve me any food because they couldn't guarantee it can contain chilies. I was like, do you know what, that's fine. I worked in hospitality long enough to not be that person. And said, no, that's fine. I'll pick something else. And they were like, oh, we've got some pastries. So that is why I had a pain au chocolat and a chocolate twist for my lunch. Um, the height of healthiness, which is why then I had something fairly more healthy for dinner. But yes, yeah, just there's lots of busyness at the moment. I was helping one of my clients yesterday with some more safety casework, building safety regulator. We had some uh we had a request for the building safety regulator for a load of information within 7 days, which was basically 13 pages of questions and information. And we were like, we waited 7 months to get this, and you've now given us 7 days to apply all of this information. Do you think we can put, and also it's the middle of the holidays where all local authorities, everybody goes on holiday because everybody has kids. So we're like, oh, do you think we can get an extension? So at the moment we're in discussion with the building safety regulator about having an extension on sending the information back, because it's quite a short time scale for quite a lot of information when quite a lot of people are off. So
Yeah.
that's quite a challenge, that one. So but yeah, so it's all been fun. Been doing some fire engineering, been looking at cavity barriers and erecting passive fire in loft spaces and how to do that and where to go.
Okay.
So it's big business in loft inspections, actually. One of my clients had a sprinkler save a couple of weeks back though, which is really exciting. I'm not sure I talked about it on the podcast the last. I'm not sure I knew about it on the podcast the last time. Can't remember. We had a fire in a new block of flats in one of the towns where my local authorities are, and um, it was built. It's a 5-story block, and it has sprinklers in it, and it was finished just before Christmas, so everybody moved in at Christmas, and then we had a young mum with a 2-year-old in the property, and she had an extension lead off one of the sockets, and she had a Wi-Fi router and phone charger plugged into an extension lead that was sitting on the sofa under a cushion, and it caught fire.
Oh.
She saw it happen, picked the little one up, got out the door, and as she left, the sprinklers activated. So by the time the fire service arrived, and by the time the council officers arrived on scene, fire was out. In fact, actually, by the time the council officers arrived, the fire service had already attended and turned off the sprinklers because the fire had gone out. So it's a really positive outcome for something that potentially could have been really, really bad. So that was really good. And then we had another really interesting one, which was in the news, which was in Basildon. There was a fire. Somebody had had a barbecue, which set fire to a tree, which then set fire to the roof of a row of houses. Now, we see this a lot in buildings around the UK, or blocks of flats and blocks of houses around the UK, in that they were originally built with flat roofs and they put a pitch roof on top. It helps with leakage, it helps with all sorts of stuff. And it was one of these properties that caught fire. It wasn't actually the local authority's block, it was a different housing association's block. But it's relevant because at least 2 of my different local authorities have done this. And of course, all they do is they don't take off the pitch, they don't do anything with the roof. All they then do is just basically put some timber struts and timber joists in, and then put a roof on. So you've still got the fire load from within the building of the original roof. So, and the fire service had a real fight to try and put the fire out because the fire had got into the old roof underneath the new roof, and then the fire service couldn't get in to fight it.
Oh.
So we've now given the fire service, to the best of our knowledge, all the buildings in Basildon that we're aware of that this has happened before. But I know that where I live up north, in our local town, we've got 4 blocks that are 3 or 4 stories that had exactly the same thing done about 30 years ago. So, but it's challenging for firefighting. So,
Yeah, it absolutely is challenging fire. Let me ask you a question.
go.
And obviously, I'm the guest on your podcast, floating it around. So with all this ridiculous heat and all this weather and everything else, we're all running fans. We're
Yeah.
all running plug-in air conditioning units and everything else, and they generate heat themselves, don't they?
And they draw so much electricity through the circuits.
Yeah. So sticking those in an extension cable, or we're increasing our risk, aren't we?
Yeah. Ideally, we would all only ever use one plug socket, one electric socket, one plug socket, one electric plug. All of our houses were built in the olden days, in the late 1900s, as we were briefly talking about just before we started recording. But even so, if you've got a house that was built even in the 90s, think about the electric. We've already been discussing about the fact that in the night when I was at school, we didn't have the same kind of computers. We didn't have. You're only 10 years younger than me, but we didn't have PCs at school. I went to university in the 90s. My first couple of years of uni, I didn't have a computer. We did stuff by hand, or we went into one of the 24-hour computer labs, one of the 3 that the university had. But we didn't. You don't have plug sockets, and even, I mean, I'm sitting in my hotel room, and I've got a plug socket by each of the bed, and I've got 2 plug sockets here next to me where computer and phone charger is, and then I've got 2 plug sockets under the window. And you sit there and you go, well, that's not too bad. But for a bedroom, that's so you've got 6 sockets. Have you got 6 plug sockets in your bedroom?
No. No, I've not got 6 in the bedroom.
So you sit there and you go, okay, well, what do we? Well, we all charge. Everybody charges their phones overnight. Literally, everybody charges their phones overnight.
TVs,
you might have a light, yeah, TV. I mean, if you have a TV, you might have a TV in your bedroom. It's gonna have a plug in it, and you sit there and you go, okay, well, all of these units, all of these fans, and they're quite high amperage, wattage. They're quite high drawers of current and stuff from the network, from the electricity. No, I mean network from the electricity that's within your house, and so it does increase the amount of power that's moving around, and that increases the heat because you're increasing the charge. So having extension leads, they can heat up. I mean, I would always say if you're going to use an extension lead, have one of those that's got a little RCD in, because that will trip before anything else trips. So you want to make sure that you can trip through. You've got the right fuse in, you've got the right this, you've got the right that. Even having the wiring checked in your house. So every 25 years, just get an electrician in, come and check it to make sure it's all right. But installing extra sockets, we're really lucky that we moved into our house 12 years ago, and it hadn't been modernized. So we sat there and went, okay, we're going to get an electric, before we move all our stuff in, we're going to get an electrician in, and we're going to get them to rip out all the stuff, and we're going to put loads of sockets in, and we're going to, let's try and, I mean, my sister laughs when I use the term future proofing, but let's think about what we might use in the future and where we might use it, how we might use it. So let's put loads of sockets here and loads of sockets there and loads of sockets around. But you still move stuff around and you still change things. So we don't know what the new electrical gadgets are going to be. Everybody now has a Alexa plugged in.
Yeah. A car plugged in. Like there's
a car plugged in. That's so much current draw.
Yeah.
So yeah. It's quite interesting, because you sit there and you go, are we overloading the socket? If you've got, I mean, a lot of people have got these things, they can monitor how much electricity they use now.
Yeah.
And you can see sort of when it hits red and all that kind of stuff. But it's a bit like in the old days. You knew there'd be an extra draw at the end of EastEnders when everybody finished watching EastEnders and went up and made a cuppa, or in the middle of Corrie or something like that when there's adverts kicking in. So you knew there was going to be that extra draw for the whole electrical network. But you're right, the last month where it's been a heat wave because it's been over 20 constantly, it's a huge amount of electrical draw, isn't it?
And the risk as well that just comes with it. And yeah. So there we go. Anyway, we're talking about wildfires.
We are. So let's talk. Let's talk about some
back on track.
Do you know? So I went to Marswell Hill this morning. I drove around the M25, and I said Josh came with me. So we're driving around the M25. And we got to the M11 junction and went down the M11, and there was a massive field that was burnt out. So we'd had a wildfire in that. We'd had a field fire there next to the M25. That's been in some point in the last week. I don't think I saw it there on Thursday, so it must have been the last 4 or 5 days. When I was driving down on Sunday, there's been a field fire just north of Bishop Stortford, just off the M11. We've got a field fire. We've got fires on Tintwistle at the moment. We've got the Isle of Wight has got various fires. There's fires at Chobham in Surrey, Edinburgh. What's the big hill in Edinburgh called?
Arthur's Seat. I saw that.
Arthur's Seat. So Arthur's Seat's been on fire again. That caught fire last year as well.
Yeah.
Joe sent me photographs last week up in North Yorkshire, up between Preston and Harrogate. Harrogate? I might mean Harrogate. I think so. Up there where they had fires, wildfires up there as well.
There's been some Manchester way, hasn't there, as well?
There has been some Manchester way. I mean, we're seeing so much of it. We are seeing so much of it. My Instagram feed at the moment is full of farmers in tractors driving really fast round fires in their fields, trying to form fire breaks. I've seen quite a lot of those. Quite a lot of in Canada and North America. There's a really interesting debate going on at the moment, which I saw online on LinkedIn actually, about the fires in Canada are affecting America and the fires in America are affecting Canada, and cross-border issues, because the fires in Canada are coming down in the North American side on the west coast, and the smog's quite low lying. But also I saw on the news the south of England is being affected because the wildfires in America, the smoke is getting up into the atmosphere and is coming across on the big winds and is dropping down. So in the same way that sometimes we get the Sahara dust on our cars when the wind is coming from the south, we're getting it on the winds. So we're starting to get we're starting to see the effects of some of the wildfires in North America, whether it's Canada or the USA, are starting to affect the south of England,
which we would never think about.
No,
why would they make that assumption, that connection with just?
How mad is that? So it's coming across. So it must be affecting everything across the sea as well.
Yeah. So we were. I was the podcast episode I was recording this morning. We were talking about farms and obviously the effect this weather has on farming, on food, and how because we're so detached from we can always put stuff on our dinner table. We can always get stuff on our dinner table, so we never see that effect. But then you've got farmers, like you've just said, who are having to sacrifice crops to create a fire break.
Yeah.
From stuff they've already lost.
Yep.
To rescue what's left.
I know. And we've got where we are, we've got a lot of although it's a lot of arable lands, a lot of the things like oilseed rape and a lot of the maize all goes to animal feed. And you look at the fields. I mean, driving around the country the last couple of days, I was in Portsmouth last week and I was driving all over the place last week. Everywhere's brown, which means then your cattle haven't got food, so you have to then buy straw. So now we're using all the straw that the farmers were saving for the winter. They're now having to use now, and we see this on a regular basis. All this silage and haylage that they've been gathering to keep, they're having to use earlier, which means they then have to buy hay and straw in, or they're having to buy more fields, or but there's just not enough. They haven't got enough food for the animals.
Yeah. There's a whole knock-on effect as well, because I'm going to get onto like the ISO stuff and employers and employees and stuff now, but obviously the farms are doing that. Then that's affecting food supplies, food stocks, food prices.
Yeah.
Which then affects, there's food poverty, there's financial poverty of employees, which will then have an effect on organisations, the way people turn up to work, people leaving to just survive, to get higher paid jobs. Like the knock-on effect is just constant and it's circular. It just keeps going.
Yeah. Even with you think the fuel crisis, I know fuel seems to have dropped back down a little bit. I managed to fill up last week for 146. I now can't see it anywhere for less than 152. It fluctuates so fast. And you sit there and you go, if you're buying fuel to get to work and you don't get support or you don't have the ability to claim mileage or anything like that, you've still got to get to work. That's got to come out somewhere. Whether you're paying whether I'm paying 146 or 156, if I fill up the car, I fill up my car twice a week. I probably do about 1,000 miles a week. I generally fill up my car twice a week. And if I put 45 litres in and I've saved 10 pence, that's nearly a tenner a week I'm saving if I can get it cheaper.
Mm.
That's quite a lot of cash for somebody if you have an issue with not having enough money.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's the knock-on effect that we don't see because it's so far removed from the original source.
Yeah.
And it's it's the recovery of all this land as well, isn't it, right? Because this land doesn't just recover by next summer.
No.
The ecosystem's destroyed. And there might not be any larger animals, there might not be, but all those bugs, all those pollinators, or everything else that comes with it is directly affecting, again, our food chain and how things operate.
That's an interesting point, because when I was little, again, the late 1900s, it just makes me laugh saying it now. But like in the 80s, farmers used to burn the straw, burn the rubble, burn the stubble. So they just used to burn it. So they'd cut the crops and they'd leave the 2 inches in the top and they just burn it off because you get the regrowth. And then they'd burn it all off and then they'd churn it back in and you've got a little bit of ash and you've got all the different chemicals from the burns and they'd just mash it back in. Whereas we don't do that nowadays because, again, trying to prevent climate change, and trying to reduce the amount of pollutants in the air. But we used to do it all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
But then it moves along though, doesn't it, with education and understanding the impact and what that does. But I forgot what I was going to say then, but something with you saying then about not contaminating the air. But there's areas where obviously reservoirs are out in all these areas that are then you're contaminating the drinking water. And then that's a heavier process to then make clean, for want of a better phrase, to make it
So you've got to clean it more. You've got to clean it more thoroughly, haven't you? I mean, I suppose, is that a positive thing then? The fact that we don't have any water in our reservoirs at the moment because it's been so hot.
Oh, I mean, you don't have to. You can't clean what's not there, can you?
Yeah, I haven't driven out. We need to speak to Roger and find out about driving over the M62 about how shallow the reservoirs over there. Do you know it was really lovely over winter because they properly filled back up again after all the droughts from last year. But I think they're very low. Well, we're on. Are you on a hosepipe ban up there?
No, you've not had a hosepipe ban for a couple of years, and I'm quite surprised.
So, we're at home in North Nottinghamshire, South of Yorkshire, Lincolnshire, in that corner where we are, we're on a hosepipe ban. Some of the places down here in Essex are on a hosepipe ban as well. I was chatting to my mate earlier on Canvey Island. She says they haven't got a hosepipe ban, but then they're basically below sea level anyway, so it doesn't really matter about that. But there's a lot of hosepipe bans in the southeast.
Yeah,
a lot of hosepipe bans. So I think it depends on which water company it is, I guess, as well.
Yeah, it does. It does, absolutely. I know with the fires in Manchester, where I can't remember what they're called. Poland.
The Moors, Saddleworth. Was it over Saddleworth? All of a sudden, I became very northern then.
But like my partner was working in Manchester city centre, and he said it was just a cloud. There was
Yeah.
just a cloud of smoke and
Marston Moor. We've had Marston Moor. We've had Northamptonshire. We've had Hampshire and the Isle of Wight. We've had, where's that one? Smoke from mountain wildfire the size of 120 football pitches, smelled 30 miles away. That's in Cardiff. Or and for anybody who speaks any Welsh, and again, Campbell, this is very much for you. I'm not going to try and pronounce the Welsh place names, but it was down near Cardiff. Abersham, Blaenavon. I'm not even no. Let's walk away from the Welsh
stop, stop.
pronunciation. Just leave it. Glenmore up in Scotland. Australia.
This one wasn't really a wildfire though. This one, do you class them as wildfires? This one was about the people who'd set the fireworks off, and it got out of control.
Oh, well, that's also scarily, unbelievably common. We've had, where was it? There was on my Facebook, which I don't go on Facebook very often because it's a place of hate. And not my LinkedIn Facebook, my actual Facebook. Somebody had the fire service had been out to some peatland. We've got some peatland moors around Hatfield, around just south of Doncaster, and it's all peat moors. And they've gone out there to do some checks, and they just kept finding old barbecues and cigarette butts, and it's like, guys, what are we doing?
How do we educate people though? How do we like what? Why do people still need educating in this like it again? Is it a consequence that's too far removed from people? Because my kids have known from a very small age, these are things that you don't do.
Clumber, so we go to Clumber Park. So Clumber Park is a National Trust, big park, part of Sherwood Forest, just outside of Retford, just sort of just off the side of the A1 actually, south of Doncaster. And it's a huge, big National Trust park. Massive, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Every year there are signs as you drive in that say, no wildfires, no barbecues, high fire risk, high fire risk, high fire risk. The number of times we've walked around there and somebody's just having a barbecue. There's signs everywhere. You have to drive past massive signs saying red fire warning. Do not light fires. Do not have open fires. Do not have barbecues. And I was chatting to one of the staff, going back 3 or 4 years, I was chatting to one of the staff there. I was just like, because we'd seen a barbecue, and I went, and when we were walking around, I saw a member of staff, and I said to them, and they said, there's just so little we can do. You can't. What do you do? Do you throw people out the park?
Yeah.
It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah. Because it's hard trying to balance. It's hard trying to balance that business aspect, isn't it? And obviously you want. Everything's about reputation now as well, with everything going instantly online, and everything can be taken out of context quite like readily and very easily.
Yeah.
How do you manage it? What do you do?
It's hard, isn't it? Because you sit there and you go, as soon as you turn around and you've got 3 families having a barbecue and there's loads of kids playing, and you come over and say, look, you can't have the barbecue, you're gonna have to put it out. What do you do? Do you get the fire? I mean, do you get the fire service to go there? Because the fire service would. I'd like to think, because I am the eternal optimist, I'd like to think that if the fire service turned up and said, you've got to put this out, there's too high a fire risk, they'd turn around and say, oh, okay then. But as we know, fire crews get pelted with stones. People don't move out the way for fire crews.
Yeah. And they're a bit busy.
Because they're fighting all the wildfires. It's mad, isn't it? So yeah. Do you do preventative work? But then if you've got somebody who has driven past 5 signs that say no wildfires, no open fires, no barbecues,
and still do it, they're just not for listening anyway, are they? I don't know. So in an ISO context, obviously all these places, the National Trust is a business. Not just the National Trust, you know what I mean? I'm not like, but the National Trust is a business.
It is. It's a business. It's all bums on seats.
They've got the controls in place. They've got the things that they need to consider. And as part of a good management system, it's a risk. So how do you deal with it? What does that look like? What's the potential outcome? What's tolerable? What's not tolerable? Maybe no business can be black and white on. We talk about compliance, but everything is a balancing act, and it's very much risk-based decisions. So it's hard to, one size doesn't fit all, and it never will. But from my perspective, I would absolutely urge any company to just sit down and think, right, okay, what could go wrong? But also, how can we use this opportunity? Do you know what I mean? Like, you could, rather than there's no barbecues, no fires, whatever else, put on specific events where you're controlling the barbecues, where you're controlling the fires in a manner where people can still access this stuff. Make it affordable for people. Do you know what I mean? Like, everything's about profits these days. Stop charging 10 quid for a burger and people stop breaking the rules. Do you know what I mean? There's people, like, there's always a reason behind people's actions, and it's not just because they're being idiots about something. They just, like that example you gave with the kids, they just want to give the kids a good day out in summer because they're not going to Mexico for 2 weeks.
Yeah. I know that I can't remember now whether it was in Scotland, up near Dundee, or whether it was in Canada and Nova Scotia. They look quite similar. In my mind, I've got a picture of, and I know it's by a beach, and I can't remember. But what they had was they had a picnic bench, and then they had an extension on the picnic bench which had a metal plate, and you could put your barbecues on the metal plate. Disposable type barbecues. I feel it might have been Dundee rather than Canada. But the thing was that people had obviously had bigger ones and they'd put them on the bench, and it was this is this recycled plastic that's come out of that's made out of old windows. But you've got the metal thing, but then people have put them, and you can see the imprint where people put it onto plastic and set it on fire as well. And you're like, oh, I kind of run out of ways to explain to people how to do things sometimes.
Yeah, that's hot.
don't put it on the plasticky bit, put it on the metally bit. But then if you've got two, but then you sit there and go one and use 2 tables. So, but it boils down to, it'd be all right.
Because it's just too far removed from the actual consequence, isn't it? I mean, the consequence for them is that they're having a barbecue and they're having a good time. That's the positive consequence. That's the consequence that's closest to them and the most impactful.
They will pack up, they will get in their car, they will drive away.
Yeah.
The beach catches fire. Oh, that was one. We had Mablethorpe. We had the sand dunes catch fire over the weekend up in North Lincolnshire. So you have sand dunes and you have the lovely grasses over the sand dunes.
Yeah.
I want to say, was it Mablethorpe or was it Cleethorpes? I mean, they're all quite close together, to be fair, up there. So on the North Lincolnshire coast, we had massive issues where we had wildfires on the beach in the sand dunes. Possibly caused by smokers, possibly caused by barbecues, possibly caused by somebody having left a glass bottle on the side and it got hot.
Yeah.
But you're right. We've talked about this, me and Joe, before. We're really good at fire safety now. We're really good at fire safety. We don't have fires. We have fires, but we don't have not the same level of fires that we had in the 70s and the 80s. We don't have fires. So therefore, people have forgotten what it's like to have a fire. And as we have a fire and everybody's really, really good. Oh, we've had a fire. Okay, we now absolutely know what to do. We've had an accident. We've done this. We all know what to do now. Let's not do this. It's all going to be fine. And then 10 years down the line, you've forgotten about it.
Yeah. Because it's too far removed again.
Too far removed.
And any kind of financial impact from that has died down again. So you think about insurance costs, you think about replacing equipment that's not covered, you think about the staff. I mean, you can have absences as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, a fire is quite a traumatic event.
Yeah.
it's intense, and especially if people have experienced it before, it can obviously bring a lot back up, and then that. So there's hidden costs like that as well that yeah. But again, too far removed to be worried about right now. But I think it just makes good business sense to just consider it. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like if anybody's got an ISO system, they have to consider climate change within the context of the system. So regardless if it's a quality one, if it's environmental, if it's health and safety, you need to consider climate change in the context of that management system. So say for example, if it's quality, you're talking about the shipping of materials because you found a cheaper supplier elsewhere who can do the same spec or whatever else. And, what impact is that having? But also, what impact is it having on the business? Not just the business on climate change, but the impact on the business. Like, because we'll have, we're going to get to a point where a lot of businesses are saying it's too hot to work, especially outdoor trades and things like that.
Yeah. We had a lot of who was I was talking to somebody about. I feel it might have been the same person. I was talking to this afternoon about Canby, and her son is a roofer, and he got really badly burnt the other day
Mm.
because it was so hot and sunny. But then you're an outdoor trade. I mean, I went to. Have I been to a construction site this week? I went to one construction site yesterday, but I went to 3 construction sites last week. And everybody was just like, oh, we're doing really well because it's been really hot. So we managed to get everything done. But then, of course, you've got people working outside. And it's like, do they have somewhere cool to stay? Do they have enough water? Do they have enough sun cream? Do they have all the other bits and pieces for working outside? Isn't there something I think when I was away on holiday, they were talking about having a maximum working temperature. So if it's more than 32 degrees, I'm like, how can
It's
you do
brought
that?
up every summer. It's brought up every single summer, and I get phone calls and text messages every single summer asking me what the
What the
maximum.
maximum temperature?
And you
Yeah.
can't do that because one of my clients is a foundry.
Yeah.
It's that
Well,
temperature
you wear
in the
suitable
middle of
clothing so you don't
January.
get burned. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And it
I've worked
obviously
in
it's all
kitchens that have been 50 degrees.
yeah, yeah, and it is about that risk assessment, and it is about I one of my old employers did traditional metal roofing.
Oh
I
yeah,
remember going out seeing it, and they just couldn't handle the metal.
too
And
hot.
it was so blinding as
Yeah,
well because of the, and it's
reflection.
just things like that where you think, how do you expect to get productivity out of people? How can you possibly just shut up and get on with it? You've got gloves, you've got sunny safety glasses, you've got water. What more do you want? Mm.
I think we're really really lucky because we live in a temperate climate. We're a little
Yeah,
island. We live in a temperate climate. Generally, it doesn't get below 0. Generally, it doesn't go above 20. That is we are a temperate country between 0 and 20. It's what we design everything to. All of our furniture is tested to 20 degrees. Everything.
yeah,
We do all of our burn testing, all of our standard testing is for stuff at 20 degrees. If it's 30 degrees in the property, or if it's 30 degrees, it's not in my room because I've got the air conditioning on because I have air conditioning, but it's going to react differently. If your ambient temperature is 10 degrees hotter than it was
mm,
tested to, that's going to affect your product. I mean, I was having the conversation with my sister about who she lives in Watford and commutes down into London. Hi Sue, if you're listening. She doesn't normally get this far in the podcast. To be fair, she
I
normally
see.
switches off. Um, she might be in the gym listening to this if she does. We were laughing about the fact that she couldn't get into London to go to work because the trains were buckling, the railway lines were buckling, and she was like, "Oh yeah, no, it's really bad." And I'm like, "How do we cope in India? They've got trains in India.
But it's steel, isn't it?
I don't understand. We've got
But
we've
then,
got railway
but
lines
then,
in India, and it's hot in India. We've got railway lines
if
in America. It's hot in America.
yeah, and it's cold. That's another issue. But if
Wild,
you know,
not temperate. Again, Canada, 35 down to -20, literally in 3 days if you speak to some of our friends.
exactly, yes. But if obviously climate change, temperatures getting hotter, temperatures getting colder, it's more extreme and all the rest of it, surely then the testing regimes need to be reviewed on the back of all these changes that are
I
coming
guess
up.
there must be.
Anticipated temperatures,
Future proofing.
future proofing. Because
Boom, blue
even
sky
my car,
thinking.
I mean, I've got a Volvo, I'm not dissing it because I absolutely love it, but
Oh, I've got a Volvo too. Best car. Hit a deer. Didn't have a
love it,
problem at all.
don't want, but it had a problem with the temperatures.
Oh,
It was like transmission issues and on. I'm like, oh my days, I'm
oh
gonna need to
no.
launch something. It's automatic. Never happened since, but it was when we had the ridiculously hot weather, and obviously my car sat outside in the sun
Mine was being repaired after being hit a deer when it was really, really hot. So it was probably in a garage.
in the shade, nice and cool. But
Yeah.
so I've taken it to the garage, and they're like, "There's nothing wrong. We can't find any issues. What's going on?" And I'm like, it was really hot. That's all I can say. Like, I don't. Is my car okay for these temperatures?
It's the same as these things
Yeah,
though. Mobile
yeah.
phones. How many times, how many of us have done a Teams meeting in your car on your phone because you can't get back to an office, you can't get to your computer, and you've got it propped up on the dashboard in the
Hmm.
sun, and all of a sudden your phone's just gone, no, high temperature warning, I'm switching off.
Yep, yep. I know, I know. Even in air conditioned scenarios, like I did a mobile. I can't wait for this episode to come out, and I'm really sorry to Olivia who's got to edit it. But we did a kind of mobile podcast episode, and it was the gimbal and the
Oh, yeah,
mic,
yeah.
popping around. But the temperatures, we were in air conditioned offices, but the temperatures that it got to, and I'm kind of like in between recordings, I'm like wafting my phone around and sticking it under an aircon unit, and because it just,
Just got so hot.
how do we survive? How do we survive, Jude?
How, I mean, and we're in a temperate country. How do they survive in Saudi Arabia? How do they survive in the middle of Africa? How do they survive in India? How do they survive in Mexico? All of these hot countries.
So how are we not learning from other countries? Why are we not now learning from other countries with these issues?
Communication. Communication. I don't know. Maybe it's because it's in the same way that we don't learn from fires in other countries. We go, oh look, there's been another fire that. I mean, there was a fire. Was there a fire at the weekend in a club?
Oh yes, it was it in Thailand or somewhere
And some
around?
and some and some people died. How many fires in clubs with combustible walls and ceilings do we need to have before we think about it?
Yeah. Yeah. And the bizarre thing is, it's always used, those videos and footage are always used in training. And we need to stop this happening and we need to do this. And we just have the same, and it's the same in safety. The same conversations just seem to keep happening over and over again without any significant change. There obviously has been progress over the years, you can't deny that. But what needs doing differently?
Yeah. Is it is it good enough for us to train people from the ground up and hope that it will trickle upwards? Or do we need to change from the top? I
We
mean,
need to
that
change.
is very much an open-ended question.
Yeah, no, I thought and this is a conversation I've had a lot recently, or I've been around a lot, and it's about having these kind of risk professionals on the boards of organisations because risk professionals are massively, massively underrepresented on boards. It's usually commercial or, you know, sales or like profitable roles
Yeah.
that sit on a board for the business, but risk management is like, yeah,
We
it
might
covers
not make
everything.
anything, but we protect the things.
So this is something else as well. If only we started to measure the positive impacts. Do you know what I mean? So every year, say a construction company completes X amount of £1 million without a single fire. All right, well, stick that down as a stat then.
Yeah.
Like, let's start benchmarking
Yeah.
on because we do radars, but radars are the lagging. They've already happened. It's
Yeah.
done.
How many tenders and PQQs do we do where we have to tell people about accidents? We don't tell people about fires.
No.
I mean, it harks back a bit to our insurance episode, which finally came out last week, where it's about, again, involving insurers. If when we're doing building works, when we're doing any kind of things, let's involve our insurers to make sure that they're happy with what we're doing to make sure that they will insure it. You can't, you have to involve all relevant stakeholders.
And it won't be a comfortable conversation.
Oh
It will not
no.
be a conversation. But you're not getting to a point where you're then saying, oh yeah, we made these changes last year. Well, your premiums tripled. Like, have the difficult conversations now. You have them in
Yeah,
advance. Plan.
yeah,
They're not really scary people. They're not really scary like concepts. It's just understand what you need to comply with. Get a bloody risk professional on your board.
yeah. Do you know what it is? It really makes a difference. It really, really does. Thank you very much for coming on. I want to do a quick shout out for those of you who've been following the story of Future Rob. Future Rob is now Current Rob. So we had for your benefit, Melissa, we had a guy who's an ex-firefighter who now works in fire safety up in Grimsby Way. And he found our podcast and started listening at the beginning. And he got about sort of a third of the way through and then messaged us saying, "Oh, I've just been listening to this episode." So then we started giving messages to Future Rob because we knew he'd be listening at different times. He's all caught up now. Future Rob is now Current Rob. So thank you. Thank you for sending in another message. We talked about fire door measuring devices the other week, about the best ones and different ones, because there's lots of different ones that we have. And Robin sent a lovely message in saying he uses a starfish shaped device with the various different thicknesses on various different legs. So there we go. Well, that was again a shout out to current Rob as he is now. So
Thanks, Rob.
current Rob, yeah, no longer future Rob. No, thank you so much, Melissa, for joining us. Thanks everyone for listening. Thanks for watching. Still can't quite get used to it being videoed, but we'll get there eventually. We'll be back next week. I will be back next week. I don't know who I'm going to get yesterday. Well, it depends on who answers any of my emails. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Melissa. Have a very lovely week, everyone. Bye.